Don't compare yourself to anyone. In a peaceful countryside village surrounded by rolling green hills and golden wheat fields, there lived a young boy named Rohan. His home was a small wooden house with a thatched roof, where he lived with his parents and younger sister. Life was simple but filled with hard work, waking up before sunrise, tending to the fields, and helping his father care for their small herd of cattle. But no matter how hard Rohan worked, he always felt like he wasn't enough. Whenever he walked to the village market, he saw the merchant's son, Aryan, dressed in fine clothes, counting gold coins his father had earned from trading. He has everything, Rohan thought. Why was I born into a family that struggles? When he visited his friend Surya's house, he saw his friend studying books while his father, a schoolteacher, guided him. If only I had books and a teacher like Surya, Rohan sighed, then I could be smart too. And when he watched the village blacksmith's son, Vikram, skillfully shaping iron into tools, he felt even worse. He has a talent, a craft, Rohan thought. I'm just an ordinary farm boy. One evening, after a long day of work, Rohan sat on a rock near the river, watching the water flow gently over the stones. His father, an old but wise farmer, noticed his troubled face and sat beside him. "What's wrong, my son?" his father asked. Rohan hesitated before answering. "Baba, I work hard every day, but I feel like I'll never be as rich as Aryan, as smart as Surya, or as skilled as Vikram. No matter what I do, someone is always better." His father smiled and pointed to the field in front of them. "Tell me, Rohan, what do you see?" Rohan looked across the land and said, "I see a field of wheat, some tall trees, and a few wildflowers." His father nodded. "Good, now tell me, do you think the wheat feels bad because it isn't as tall as the trees? Or do the trees feel jealous of the flowers because they don't bloom with bright colors?" Rohan frowned. "No, Baba, that would be silly. Each plant grows in its own way." His father chuckled. "Exactly. The wheat grows to feed the village, the trees give shade and wood, and the flowers bring beauty to the land. They do not compare themselves to each other. They simply grow, becoming the best version of what they were meant to be." Rohan sat in silence, letting his father's words sink in. "You, my son, are not meant to be Aryan, Surya, or Vikram," his father continued. "You are meant to be Rohan. Stop looking at others and focus on becoming the best version of yourself." A change in perspective. That night, Rohan thought deeply about his father's words. The next morning, instead of feeling discouraged, he looked at his own strengths. He was strong from working in the fields, quick to solve problems and kind-hearted toward others. He decided to use what he had instead of wishing for what he didn't. He began experimenting with new ways to grow crops, using techniques he had observed from nature. Over time, his fields flourished better than before. He also started helping his fellow farmers by sharing what he had learned. Soon, people in the village recognized his wisdom and sought his advice. Years passed, and Rohan became one of the most respected farmers in the village. He wasn't the richest merchant, the smartest scholar, or the most skilled craftsman, but he was something even more valuable. He was himself. And that was enough. One day, a young boy from the village approached Rohan and said, "Sir, I wish I could be like you, but I'm not as strong, not as smart, and not as talented as others." Rohan smiled, remembering the words of his father long ago. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder and said, "Look at the fields, young one. The wheat, the trees, and the flowers do not compare themselves to one another. They simply grow in their own way. Do the same, and you will find your own greatness." The boy's eyes lit up with understanding, and he walked away with a newfound sense of purpose. As Rohan watched him go, he realized that his greatest lesson had not just helped him, it was now shaping the next generation. And from that day forward, whenever someone in the village felt lost or doubtful, they would remember Rohan's story and remind themselves, don't compare yourself to anyone, just grow.